but
That's right. Your audio sounds fine. We're live. What's up, everybody? It's Sunday, back with a new episode of the Hot Box. Oh yeah, I know it's been a while. It's been probably like a month at least. But
longer than that. It's probably been 2 months.
yeah, we had to move, and that like requires taking this whole studio thing down, and then like we had to move it and then set it back up. But the good news is the new studio has like 150 megabit cable internet, so
No
we're
longer, no longer are you jealous of my Austin fiber.
I know, no longer do we suffer the 10 megabit DSL connection.
Yeah,
So
DSL.
yeah, we had DSL. Real quick before we start, I'll tell you a little story. In Montana, like we had CenturyTel, CenturyLink, CenturyTel, DSL, and then we finally got cable. Like the cable companies came to town and they saved everybody.
Oh boy.
And I vowed, I was like, I will never have to ever deal with CenturyTel ever again. And then I moved here for this weed job, and it's like all that was here was CenturyTel. Like, no, damn it! But now we're in a house that's like a mile away, and apparently they have cable there. It's Comcast, but it's pretty slick.
Yeah, Comcast.
Yeah.
Bad as Time Warner.
Yeah, well, yeah. They're the only ones, and it was better than CenturyTel, so yeah.
Yay, monopolies.
Exactly, right? All right, let's start the show.
On the seventh day,
The terrors of tripping on pumps. Be there! Scour the spaceways! Explore vast alien worlds! This tin right here contains the whole rigmarole.
I used to smoke about an ounce of hash every day.
Good.
And it made me go a little bonkers.
Maybe if I occupy his mind with more duties, I can control his space.
Hi, big fat doobies. Hi.
Hi, what's up, everybody? Today's Sunday, April 10th, 2016. It's episode 175 of the Hot Box. It's a nice number, a nice episode number. I like that, 175. Hotboxpodcast.com/live. You can watch these hangouts every week. We will try, now that we're moved and everything, start getting shows out more regularly. I'm Matt Lee. Joining me, as usual lately, has been Gooey Rabinski. He does some internet writing here and there. And he wrote a book for all of the beginner people that may not see eye to eye on medical cannabis. You could give them this book. How you doing, Gooey?
Hey man, how's it going?
Good. Got moved back in, got unpacked, studio's up and running now. Got a couple weed reviews done. I mean, it's great. It was like Christmas, unpacking all of the studio stuff again.
Unpacking all the stuff you already own.
Yeah, like I have all this recording equipment. Cool. All right, let's
Yeah, 175 episodes. We've been doing this since what? We were like 14?
Yeah, since like 2010
Wow, yeah.
started. We picked you up about, I don't know, like a year ago, it feels like.
It's getting up there, I guess. That's crazy.
Yeah, I've been here over a year now, and actually we're going to have my friend Dan come talk to us here in a few. As you know, if you live in Washington, medical is slowly winding down to give way to the I-502 recreational plan that the LCB has put into place. So my job, well, part of my job, because I work on the medical side right now, we do have a rec side, but I just work on the medical side. So in July, that's going to be over and done with, and I'll be moving over to the rec side, and then hopefully moving on to Oregon. But the point is, Dan, he was a medical grower, and some of these people, like they got their rec stuff in order, and they were, ready for the transition, so to speak. But others were like, we're not really either down with that, or we don't want to be recreational. Like we were happy doing medical. If we can't do that, then we'll do something else.
Oh, they weren't happy doing medical. They're never happy.
Well, yeah, you can't make everyone happy all the time. It is better than what we're seeing in states like Montana, where I'm from, where they're just not only are they having, the Supreme Court not being on their side and like upholding these rules that's going to put a limit on the amount of patients you can care for. It's going to be like 3. They're really just clamping down on it and completely going backwards as to where it was. But then you have these groups within the Montana cannabis industry, I guess, if that covers medical and the people that want rec. And you have all this infighting, and it's like they're like, sign our petition to tax and regulate recreationally, and the medical people are like, no, let's just sign the medical petition because it's a medicine and it needs to be treated as such. It's like the opposition is probably just sitting there laughing at all of this infighting because that's just good for them. So
fragmentation.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's so controversial that I'm always amazed at not the opposing forces within, and I don't even know what to call it anymore, industry, movement, culture, it's all 3.
Yeah.
I think you might have a call.
Yeah, well, gonna get Dan on the horn here. Dan, how you doing?
Doing well, man. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good, man. You're live on the Hotbox. You're here with me and Gooey Rubinski.
Hi there, Gooey.
Hey, dude, how's it going?
Doing very, very well.
Excellent.
We were just talking about how medical here is winding down in Washington in July, and I mentioned that some of us have rec jobs to go to, and some of us were gonna stop doing what we were doing, and I kind of wanted to get your point of view because you were a medical grower and caregiver and all that. So. First of all, are you going rec, or what are your plans, Dan?
Well, from a growing standpoint, I really kind of just had to wrap my operation up as kind of the legality's gone out of it. I've always kind of considered myself like a micro grower of sorts, but it's just really the conversion over to rec takes a huge cash infusion, and I just don't have the size or the funds to convert.
And that's interesting you say that because a lot of the people that aren't going to rec, and that's like a big reason. They were just, growing for like a handful of friends or as part of a collective, and they didn't have the money to put in for all of these new changes that they would have to make to their buildings and all of that. Like it's expensive for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, just to really the license applications and then to run effectively. It's a lot of money, and then you just have to be big. I mean, it really rewards the big players, and that's not really anything I ever set out to do.
Yeah,
it's always just kind of small quality, put smiles on a small number of people's faces, and just kind of do it the best you can.
It does kind of seem like that unless you had this large business behind you, or you were saving money knowing that all right, to go rec, which is what I want, if that's what you want, is going to cost a lot of money, so I better start saving now. Sorry kids, you're not going to college because daddy's got to get his rec front up and running.
Well, and that's exactly right. I mean, it's to really, at the end of the day, the end consumer needs a product that's at standard prices. Uncle Sam's going to get his cut. The middleman's going to get his cut. So who's going to take it in the lower product cost? It's going to be the growers on the back end. And so you have to get big to make up for the volume, and your quantity of cost is just undercut to the bare minimums.
Right, and so with this, you're not able to just keep growing. Like if you wanted a few plants for yourself, once the new rec laws take effect, like there's no more of that, right? Or can people still grow a few plants?
You can still grow. You're much more limited. I mean, there's mileage restrictions that surround per a recreational shop. So I think it's like 15 or 30 miles from a recreational shop you have to be able to grow on your own. You're limited out at 15 plants maximum total period, and then from the last I heard, you are also signed up into a database that is a more or less public record. So,
that says what?
From medication, what's that?
That basically says what? This guy's growing weed on his own? Like come and take a look, or like what is? I don't get what the purpose of that is. We don't have a designated public record for people growing like tomatoes or even poppies for that matter.
Well, no, and really from a medication standpoint, name something else that you can go find out that somebody's on as a public record.
Yeah, you can't just call up the pharmacy and be like, "Hi, I would
No.
like a list of all your OxyContin patients."
Or,
Great, thanks. You could just
you know,
email.
antipsychotics, things like that.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like that's not how it works. But for some reason, because of how dangerous this plant is, we got to really keep on top of it. Otherwise, it's going to be like that M. Night Shyamalan movie where the plants kill everybody. Forget what that's
Okay.
called, but you know what I'm saying. Spoiler,
I mean, and
spoiler
even on the rec
alert.
market,
It was the plants.
there's
Sorry, go ahead.
and they, well, I mean, they take away all personal grow caveats. Washington's one of the few states that even on the recreational side of it, there is no allowance for any amount of plants to be grown whatsoever.
Oh, so well, that's kind of what I was asking. Like, as just individuals, once medical is done, assuming that you weren't even medical, I guess, if you could just grow your own plant or two, so you have to actually have this medical license under rec if you're going to grow under 15 plants.
Correct. If you're to grow any amount at all.
I see. So what if I don't have my card or anything? I'm just a rec user. What if I want to grow a couple plants? Is that no?
Yeah, that is per the laws of Washington, that is not currently allowed.
Interesting, Dan. That doesn't sound like freedom, Dan. I'm sorry. I thought this was America.
I thought it was America myself.
I'm sorry. Did we turn around somewhere? I thought this was America. Shit.
Washington laws es no bueno.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. I wonder how different things will be in Oregon. So what have you, and if you don't want to talk about this, you definitely don't have to, but so what did you do then? Like, because you're done growing for medical, like where did your career take you in cannabis?
Well, it's onto the rec side of things. I'm a cannabis candy salesman, and so I travel around and sell cannabis candy.
You're a weed candy stripper?
I am. I bring around the candy with a little more pop. I put smiles on people's faces one way or another.
You should man in heels, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right,
So,
but it's amazing though. I mean, going around and actually seeing this recreational market. I mean, forever I was told, on the black market or on the medical market, this recreational side of things can't survive, and they're just going to flounder and fail. And every store I go into is just perpetually busy.
It's big bucks for sure, and people are like happy to spend the 45% tax or whatever they're paying on each bud. It's crazy.
It's actually 50% in an excise tax and then 10% in a sales tax, roughly.
Is that with the new changes, or was that the existing tax structure? Because those were changing, I read.
Correct. It used to be 30% at each stage. So
right,
from the producer, as it changed hands each time, and then they changed it to just the 50% on the actual end user end with the sales tax.
Right. Got to just pass those savings on to us. I mean.
Well, and then here, if you're a patient, then at this point they'll knock off the sales tax, but you're still paying the excise tax, which is really tripling the cost, at least in most of these situations, of your medication. Which sometimes in the flower end, they're equaling it out a little bit, but really for quality meds, for quality flower that's out there, they want astronomical amounts of money for it.
Yeah, definitely. It's not your like $200 an ounce type stuff. Like you're paying like $20 a gram, if not more. And then and that's not even talking concentrates. Once you get into concentrates, it's pretty expensive. I mean.
No, man, I was over in Spokane this last Thursday, Friday, and we were in certain places had half grams of rosins that were $40.
Yeah, that's crazy. Especially then you look at the individuals, and this is probably better than a lot of people, what they're willing to pay for flour and what it costs to make really good flour. It's like you almost can't compete with prices like that, especially when the shops are only willing to pay a certain amount because you have your large tier 3s able to sell, mediocre to, and not all of it's mediocre, some of it is pretty good, but the majority of the big grows aren't producing very great material, they're too big. they don't have enough staff to work it properly. Yeah.
It's really kind of funny when you start seeing some of these folks. There's a candy producer, and everybody wants you to buy their oils, and they have them roll out, and it's kind of, you see some of them, and you snicker a little bit, and you're like, really? This is it? Like, get out of here with this dark swamp water thing. We don't want this.
Poop soup.
Yeah.
It's just it. It's like, like this is going to translate into everything that we put it into. And that garbage in, garbage out philosophy is so prevalent in everything that we do.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Have you just had your mind blown, like being in the medical side and then seeing like all of these different rec setups and everything?
Absolutely. I mean, as you saw the evolution of the medical side, really, and so from, because I was in there for quite a few years, and from, it's kind of its beginnings to more or less, the apex of it, you really saw some evolution of stuff that was just garbage to stuff that was getting, clearer and clearer, and, you saw these terp profiles to start showing up on things, and people were starting to get really proud of their concentrates, and then
Right.
fractured into this recreational market, and you're just seeing it all of a sudden. There was quality, and then now you're seeing it on the other end again. It's popping back up, and these places are starting to do it, but the price differential is just astounding.
Yeah. Gooey, coming from a state that you're in that really doesn't have any of this, do you hear this and you're just like, oh, these poor first world problems complaining about? Meanwhile, I'm over here a damn criminal for smoking some weed, allegedly.
Well, it's kind of interesting. I mean, back at the end of 2015, I moved from the Midwest to Austin, and I have a real good hookup here in Austin. I get potent BHO. I don't know how pure or clean it is. Sometimes my lungs tell me not so much. I get flowers for about $230 to $250 an ounce, and they're top shelf. They're real good, and sometimes they're sativa dominant. The BHO goes for about 50 a gram. So when you're talking in a legal state, 40 for a half gram, yeah, that kind of makes my head explode.
Even though the let's just call it a criminal tax, is that worth $40?
I'm just looking at, okay, let's just assume that they're equally decent products, okay? And you're paying in a legal state 80 a gram, and here I am in prohibitionist land, Yeehaw, Texas, and I'm paying 50. Now, granted, I got a good hookup, but it's not like I know the producer and I went to college with him, so it seems a bit ironic to me.
Gooey, let's assume that you're getting your material, hypothetically, from the cartels. And let's say our material that we're getting, that money is going to like help the school system and education. Your money is kind of just going to fund like guns and murder.
Mexican mafia, dude.
Terrorism, basically.
I'm funding. You're making me feel great. I'm funding the Mexican mafia, and that's help me sleep tonight.
That's one of the prices that you got to ask yourself.
I'm working on it. I'm gonna, for 420, I'm gonna do kind of a sabbatical, little working vacation. I'm gonna go to Portland for a week or so, and I'm gonna scope it out, and maybe I'll move to Portland. I don't know.
Maine's a long ways away.
Yeah, that's funny. That's very funny.
You're really going to Oregon? Portland, Oregon's like a few hours from here. I will come and visit you.
I will be there for 420. I'll be there in like 9 days or whatever, and I'm gonna hang around for about a week. I'm gonna bring my bike because Portland's a cycling city, and I'm gonna explore it on my bike. I figure that's the best way to do it, eh?
Well, hey, why don't you just bike up here and then you can come see me and Dan, and we'll show you what dabs are all about.
Sure, it's probably only a 12-hour bike ride. Maybe 17.
What Dan is actually also, he might not tell you this, but he is also our airport chauffeur, as well as he's like the best Uber driver you'll ever have, basically.
Oh, I love Uber. My the folks around here who like to drink a lot, they really love Uber.
Yeah, I bet.
But I would. But
yeah, Center Console.
What's that, Dan? Oh, that's right. This fellow right here, he'll take care of you. I'll tell you what.
I believe that we can have I believe that legal states and legal systems can have better prices than the black market if run properly and intelligently, with real metrics and kind of an objective outlook. And you can put those tax dollars into the schools and the roads, and I think we can do both. And it would be interesting to really get down to brass tacks and investigate it almost from an academic perspective, like you were doing a PhD thesis, and look at the current state of things in Denver and Portland and Seattle and California and Alaska, and to really get down to it. But from what I'm seeing, it's, if you're in a municipality or a county where they ban this stuff, certainly you can just drive to the other town, right? But that seems to be the number one blockade of the conservatives, not only these taxes, but just saying, okay, and you can't do it here.
Right, and the other side of it too, like these places are providing jobs. Like I have a better job than what I had in Montana doing, just regular 9 to 5 work. There's benefits and there's
right.
insurance and all that. Like they're legit. You just can't get paid with a check. It's
right.
All.
Well, and it stimulates the economy too. I mean, I really, really don't want to be funding a cartel. I don't care what country they're from. Yeah, we got a lot down in Mexico, but organized crime that also plays around with heroin and cocaine and sexual trafficking and stuff. I really don't want my dollars to go there, and right. I always preach that.
It's not like you can say, okay, you can use this, but not for trafficking humans. Okay, I only want this used for growing weed.
Right. They don't care where they get the money, if it's hookers or if it's weed. They really don't give a shit.
Well, did you guys see this? I keep seeing this passed around Facebook that the DEA is talking about making an announcement, and they're saying that they may reclassify weed soon.
Right. I'll believe. Yeah.
And there was a Facebook post in one of the Montana groups I'm in, and one of the people in there, his name's Chris Lindsay, he had this to say about it I thought was kind of interesting. He says the FDA will almost certainly not reschedule raw cannabis materials, buds and flowers. It would reschedule cannabinoids, then begin extensive and exhaustive tests, Sativex is over 10 years so far, and then have cannabis grown and processed in other countries as it does with drugs made from poppy plants. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And then another lady in there, her name's Kate, she pointed out that this might be a Trojan horse in a bad direction, since these lawmakers would probably be less supportive of state approaches. So, and that is interesting, right? There are no poppy fields in the U.S. that I am aware of. Maybe there are, but Purdue Pharma doesn't have, like, you always hear about it in the Middle East or somewhere in some, like, war-torn country that we kind of saved, but not really saved. But
the Afghan poppies.
Yeah, exactly. It's so I see his point that if that did happen, it might not necessarily be the great thing that we all hope it would be.
Oh, I've maintained that for quite some time. If it actually succeeds on the federal level to achieve, especially certain status as a pharmaceutical, the reins that will then be placed on it are going to be unbelievable.
Right.
And so, I mean, really, it's kind of, you want it to stay in kind of the grayish type area, because that's really kind of where it plays best. But for the straight up medical legalization, it's going to be under the reins of medicine, and that goes into big pharma.
I forget who said it, but they were talking about treating it as like a supplement, because if you compare the two, they're very similar in that neither of them kill people. Both of them are very safe. Your body kind of just uses what it needs and gets rid of the excess in a way. Like, just regulate it like you regulate supplements, just if people...
Yeah, that was a pot scientist. He was saying it, yeah, like herbs.
Is that who that was? Yeah, I thought that was really, really, perfect. Like, yeah,
crazy bastard from Denver.
Yeah, I like that guy. He was cool.
He's good. He's smart.
But yeah, they say, and those of you listening, you probably already know this, but just for the record, of course, that the DEA Schedule 1 is where marijuana sits with heroin, MDMA, mescaline, and other drugs.
Bath salts.
Offer no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse, which is pretty much the opposite of what weed is.
Well, we would be dead by now, dude. Come on, all three of us here. Wouldn't we all be dead?
If there wasn't weed, I would have.
No. I mean, if weed was dangerous.
Oh, well, yeah, that too. Like, everybody would be dead. So many people smoke it. Like, even in the face of smoking badass shit full of pesticides and mold and all that you know you've smoked before. If you smoke weed, like, you know you've smoked some nasty shit before.
Hell yeah.
And we're still here, definitely. Some of us may have some emphysema developing, but for the most part, we're here and we're fine. And there has been generation after generation of people that smoke it and smoke it on the daily. There's just no, like, okay, we don't have people with clipboards and pointy noses with glasses being held up, like, documenting the fact that we're all okay. Because it's Schedule 1. So it's not like they're going to reschedule it and then everyone's going to be like, oh, study me, study me. It's going to be like, well, now none of you can smoke it unless you come to this paid study that they're actually performing.
Well, maybe Dan can talk more to, I'd certainly like to research it a bit more. I know a lot of activists are saying that if we go from Schedule 1 to Schedule 2, as I believe Hillary Clinton has suggested in kind of her ninja pivot turn on the whole medical marijuana thing, that would actually be bad because there would be a lot of roadblocks to research, and that really what we need to do is go Schedule 3. So the argument of overly simplistic argument of just rescheduling, black or white, okay, yes, we have to reschedule, and no consideration of how we reschedule, I'm starting to hear a lot of vibes of Schedule 2 would. And some people are actually saying, let's keep it Schedule 1 instead of Schedule 2.
Why don't you just deschedule? It doesn't need to be scheduled. It doesn't kill people. So
that would certainly be nice, wouldn't it?
I think, if you want to talk about deaths, probably guns and cars should be a Schedule 2.
Cars. No, you're right, yeah.
Depending if some people use them improperly, they kill people.
It must be why I like cars so much. It's such a risky lifestyle if you try to test their limits.
Well, cars have trunks, and trunks are about the size of a couple dead bodies. So,
hey, I just want to test the option. I want to make sure my body's not one of the dead ones,
Well, of course. Did you guys? This was a cool infographic going around, kind of comparing America's 2015 weed sales in context with other, like, normal companies like Dasani, who sold $1.2 billion worth of water, about half of what legal weed sales were at $3.4 billion. DiGiorno under them, Girl Scout cookies, the actual cookies, at $776 million. That's a racket, isn't it? Holy shit.
Water. Do they have a patent on water, maybe?
Well, water too. That's pretty dicks to charge people something that's a necessity. But
we pay it, man.
Oh,
Nobody forced us to pay it.
You know why? Because our tap water tastes gross.
Well, that's a conspiracy. That's a good Ron Howard movie in the making there.
But Girl Scout cookies, damn, that's $776 million.
I haven't tried Girl Scout cookies. Should I try it in Portland?
No, the weed is good. I'm talking about the cookies.
I'm talking about the weed.
Right, but the cookies bring in a lot of money, and that's.
Well, they hold your grocery stores like terrorists.
Right,
you can't walk into the store with that little girl asking you to give her something, and you're like,
Oreos.
Oreos. Okay.
Oreos are also cookies, and also in grocery stores, not as big as Girl Scout cookies. Only 711 mil compared to
amazing
76. So, Twizzlers at the bottom at 203 mil, and Wheat Thins at 344. So,
Budweiser at 17 trillion.
Yeah, well, yeah, they didn't have that on this chart. It is interesting to see now that if, people consider it, even though it's not in all 50 states, as Oreos probably are, yeah.
Are you kidding?
Are they?
Yeah, absolutely. That's international distribution. They just give them a different name in Canada and Mexico,
Yeah. They call them El Oreos. I don't really speak Spanish, but
that's L'Oreo to you, fool.
That's right. So yeah, that's some good money, definitely getting made there, and only 4 states. And I don't even think, are we even counting Alaska? Are they even selling weed yet recreationally, or are they still getting it together?
I think it's just Charlotte Green. I think everybody else is like going to get for it.
She is hustling some weed, I'll tell you what.
She's got her act together, you know. I'm trying to, yeah. Anyway,
You knocked on the door selling Girl Scout cookies, I would buy some Thin Mints for sure.
I would buy some Girl Scout cookies weed from her. Yes, absolutely. I would support her dispensary and all the hardworking people there any day of the week.
Did you guys see the South Carolina senators not getting medical marijuana and actually rejecting the bill that people had put up? So if you live in South Carolina, you'll have to still wait, I guess.
Big surprise.
Yeah, not really a state that you were like, oh yeah, that's gonna happen.
I have some ex-relatives there, and it's a very, you know, almost kind of Alabama culture in many respects.
Sure, sure. 7-4 the state senators voted. The bill would have allowed patients suffering from, you know, shitty shit like cancer and glaucoma. But since now you'll just have to keep, I guess, taking pills. And this was interesting too. That they said that Senator Tom Davis, the main sponsor of the bill, he's worked on this thing for like 2 years. He says 35 other states have some form of medical marijuana. This is something that is providing real relief to people who are suffering. But the other members, they weren't really having it. One of them in particular, Kevin Johnson, he said, back in my district, every single medical professional that contacted me about this bill is against it.
Wow.
Now, he doesn't say that, you know, that was probably like 2 of them, but he
think
says all the ones that did, they said no. And they explained to me why, and they made some very valid points, none of which I'm going to get into. Just know that they made some valid points, and I've listened to them. And also, he says, all of my law enforcement people in my district also against this bill. Weird.
Wow, funny. You know, I think the cannabis industry, as this culture and movement becomes an industry, needs a more powerful lobbying force, not only at the state level, but also, you know, in DC. Because what's interesting is the pharmaceutical lobby is larger than the petrochemical lobby. And I think a lot of Americans don't understand that. Think about that. That there is more money, more billions of dollars being poured into lobbying our leaders for favorable rules and taxation and regulations for pharmaceutical drugs and all the shit we're talking about, where cannabis is like 99.9% of the time better than the pharmaceutical drugs. And how much money is being spent by the cannabis industry in all 50 states and in DC?
Apparently not enough. So you're saying we need to send Dan over there with like $1 billion in his pocket and go
I'll do that.
go just grease some palms.
Dab samples. I recommend dab samples, especially to, you know, some choice senators.
Yeah, they would appreciate.
I'll bring in some candy. Nobody can deny the candy, and then it's done. It's over.
That's true. They'll be like, wow, good. Pretty
When really, if you look at the medical professionals, drug reps are medical professionals.
Sure, it's like, who
You
did he
know.
ask? You know, yeah.
Well, you know, in law enforcement, I mean, if you look at the Colorado documentaries and all the documentaries that follow both sides of it, and you follow the legal rationale as it goes, it is so transverse to what the data shows in everything that they bring up, and it's just like, no, my head's in the sand. This is the way it's going to be. La 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 la. I don't hear any of this. The benefit isn't possible. It's not real, and it's just freaking maddening.
Yeah.
To a damn degree that they cannot figure out that there is benefits to this. That it may not be your path to wellness, but it's somebody's path to wellness, and that's
Right.
okay.
But look at what they're using. Like, it's the same excuse, just saying that, well, in Colorado, where recreational use is legal, use by children ages 12 to 17 is double the national average for that age group. And they say things like, well, that's fine, but all of that legal medical marijuana could be diverted to recreational use. So it's like, well...
You know, this is a culture war, plain and simple. I think I want my next book to be culture war.
And pills and everything. Like they're saying here that they have a seed-to-sale tracking system that's supposed to prevent that, but law enforcement says that tracks the weed only to the point of sale, so it could still end up being sold after that. Just like, alcohol, that kids go pay a homeless guy to go buy for that. Like, anything that people want like that, it's going to get diverted if you say a certain section of the population can't have it for whatever reason. Like,
you can't sell without opportunity for diversion. You know, diversion is a big deal in these state regulations. They take it.
And I'd rather have a bunch of weed diverted into, you know, places maybe it shouldn't be than pills or booze. Like, that has way worse repercussions on a society.
But this culture war, remember, it's so part of their dogma that they're going to lie. They're not going to examine the science. Here's the problem: we can't have, and I think this is what frustrates Dan. But Dan, tell me, we can't have a science-based discussion because that's how do you get more objective than a science-based discussion? Seriously, okay, take the religion out of it. Take the, you know, you live how you want, I live how I want. It's freedom in America, right? But if we can't have a science-based dialogue, how the hell are we going to get anyway? Look, we push one foot ahead, and they push us 4 feet back. You know, and the more states that legalize through ballot initiatives and such, the more the offense. They're well funded. They're just going to start kicking people in the nuts. I'm, you know, sorry to sound so crude, but I think it's going to get even worse.
Dan.
Yes, sir.
It's terrible.
Well, it really is. I mean, you know, and kind of back to the other section of what it's going to take with the lobbying power to be able to combat part of this, especially on a national stage. You know, a lot of these states have torn down the current legislation that restricts outside monies from investing into these industries. And I know that Colorado, Oregon, and Washington, all 3 have taken away the barriers for outside investment, allowing for the development now of big business marijuana. And I mean, although it's one hell of a double-edged sword, I think some of the power of the money is going to start to be generated from all of these outside investments, starting to conglomerate and develop big marijuana. But then on the other hand, you're going to have big marijuana, and is that a good thing?
So you're getting down to like shades of gray here and saying, okay, big money brings a lot of good stuff, and big money brings a lot of problems too.
Exactly. I mean, when you get to the power of being able to combat the pharmaceutical on the national stage, what do you lose being able to generate those big funds?
Your humanity, your soul, and probably a lot of sleep.
What industry?
They don't lose sleep. They got a Mercedes S500 in the garage. They don't lose sleep.
Yeah, you just have to hope that the people that start that industry have a better moral compass than those in the alcohol, tobacco, and firearms industries. But greed is everywhere. It's a human trait. So humans start the thing that's going to have those characteristics.
Yeah, it's kind of 20th century versus 21st century thinking too, I think. So many of these really cool, hip, new companies that embrace sustainability, you know, inclusion of all minority interests. They're 21st century companies. They've been founded within the last decade or 15 years. And a lot of this, you know, you mentioned firearms, tobacco, booze, you know, that's really not just 20th century thinking, but it's thinking that goes back centuries earlier. And we're really, as a world, as societies, trying to evolve beyond that. But man, look at all the roadblocks they're putting up, eh? All these
It's been a long game of psyops to get people to think a certain way about this plant and that culture, I guess, that has arisen from it. Like it is. There's a lot there to process and to kind of turn off and to rewrite, and it's gonna happen eventually for sure. It's just we're all like waiting because the way we were raised, we're like, this is ridiculous. Like, why is this still a thing? But the gears of how it changes like move much slower than we would like.
Right. I mean, I came out to my kids last summer in terms of smoking cannabis, and the reaction, they're 14 and 16. My 14-year-old daughter was like, really? Weed, Dad? And I said, what do you mean? You're embarrassed that I do it? And she goes, no, why do we have to have this talk? It's just weed.
That's brilliant. That's it,
awesome.
right? That's true. That's kids don't give a shit. We don't give a shit.
These millennials, if they're real tied into social media, and I've turned them into little tech geeks walking around with their Apple devices, you know, in every pocket. But they you know, they're connected to a culture that's worldwide, literally, and I'm proud of that. I'm glad they can see outside their local community and their local state, you know, their state, and just all that. But they have it's, you know, we need to realize that these kids are going to college, they're coming into power, they're starting their own companies, and sometimes they're even becoming politicians and helping form these regulations. You know, we need to, you know, we just need to educate people and get rid of the stigma and help the world see it from the perspective of the millennials who say, look, it's just weed. Why is this such a big deal?
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like a lot of those places that are having problems with this, like those people are up for re-election, and it's making people that normally wouldn't even give a shit about politics one way or the other at that level, like they're getting involved in it, and they're people are standing up and they're giving speeches and they're moving other people, and eventually all of these shitty people will get replaced by all of these good people, and then shit can start to, you know, even out a little better.
Let's
But
hope. I mean, we got a nice start with these 4 states in DC, but you know, and even there, all this opposition, you know, at the municipal and county level, and even at the state level. I mean, it's everywhere, you know. So let's hope we can take it from 4 states in DC to 12 states and 15 or 20, and that gets us the momentum at the federal level that's necessary to fix things like merchant banking and all that other bullshit.
yeah. It's reefer madness. There was this other interesting article that was talking about some towns that are just completely banning it, and in states like we're in Washington and Colorado, there are still places, and a lot of people may not know this. It's not legal everywhere in the state because certain, like you said, municipalities, they ban it.
Hundreds.
Wasilla, Alaska is in there, Sarah Palin's hometown. They banned marijuana businesses, even though city officials knew that there was a risk that banning legal weed sales could cause this whole black market thing to flourish. They still decided that you can only consume weed on private property and you can't sell it anywhere within the town's city limits.
Wow.
Hotchkiss, Colorado. They initially banned marijuana businesses, but then kind of they're having a little second thoughts. It was a coal mining town, but that industry, of course, has long since passed. Town leaders are taking up the issue again this month and reconsidering whether weed businesses should be allowed. So if you live there in hot Colorado, you know, you got to let them know. Washington, D.C., of course, they legalized weed in 2014, but the city has had a hard time figuring out what to do since then. Washington currently bans any sale of marijuana within district limits. The city has also banned smoking in all public spaces, private clubs, bars, hotels, and restaurants. The district has had an issue with people smoking anything in public, which has made officials reconsider if smoking in private clubs should even be allowed.
You know, one of the chief architects of all the opposition in DC is Representative Andy Harris, who is a medical doctor from Maryland. He's a rep from Maryland. And I just find it highly ironic that Representative Harris here is a medical doctor, and he is so just incredibly opposed to the citizens of DC, sick people, cancer, MS, epilepsy, children, you know, who can't lead a regular life. And he's opposed to them using this for medical efficacy, let alone the freedom of adult users to consume an herb. It just blows my mind.
Yeah. Even in California, there's some places, San Juan Capistrano in particular, Linden City, Washington. They've been consistently extending a temporary ban on sales of weed since 2013, and they're thinking about just making that thing permanent. Fuck it. We'll ban it permanently. Who cares? So yeah, there's definitely places out there in legal states still that are like, no, it's dangerous, reefer madness, and all that nonsense.
But in Washington, it's you can tell. I mean, all the stores that I visit are in tight groupings, you know, in the places that have allowed these shops to exist. But for the ones that don't, there's been talk that the state is going to come in and say, no, sorry guys, you can't do this, and they're going to override what the municipalities have got going on.
to make them let stores open?
Correct.
That's
Correct.
That's good. I think that's good if people want them there. I mean, the market will say, right? Like if you open a shop and the people there don't smoke weed, you're obviously not gonna do very well. So if you
Open
can,
markets, man.
yeah, exactly. If you can open a shop
Capitalism
there,
at its finest.
let it happen.
Yeah.
And if not, it'll sort itself out.
Exactly.
So,
And really, I heard a little bit of talk of banks earlier. Keep in mind, I get a paycheck.
an actual check?
Yes,
That's some
I get a
bullshit.
paper check.
Where the hell are you getting checks? That's bullshit.
The company's called PayQuick, but there's two which are they allow for vendors to transfer monies in between each other, and there are two banks currently in Washington. I don't know the name of them, but they allow for cannabis and marijuana business.
PayQuick, huh? I saw them a long time ago at some conference thing, and I thought it was kind of interesting. They kind of at first came off as like some Russian banking shit, but I keep like following them, and they're getting legitimacy for sure. So that's cool. Is that who your check? Like it says PayQuick on it?
Yeah, correct. That's what I mean. Hell, it all may still come back to the cartel, and who the hell knows? It's a different set of them. But, there.
Awesome.
But it's a little strange. I mean, we get checks. Like I process checks, I take check payments or electronic payments, and so it's kind of opening up a little bit. I believe these are both credit unions, and neither one would be FDIC insured, but they do exist.
That's cool, man. I mean, it's definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, I get taxes taken out. I get federal taxes taken out of my check.
Well, I mean, I get taxes
that
taken out and everything. We just don't get checks. Like, we get cash, which is...
Can we arrest the Fed for ill-gotten gain?
Maybe.
Funny how they'll take that and spend it on black helicopters and SWAT teams.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's legit till July, I guess.
Well, and on the DEA thing about them kind of laying down arms with it, they've accepted money, especially in these legal states, to eradicate this plant. So tell me how that works out when they've taken these monies to get rid of this thing, but then it's legal now and they're told to stop.
I don't know. I mean, I would have just got rid of it for them for free.
Oh yeah, just give it to me. Don't burn it.
I'll burn it. I'll burn it, you guys. That's cool. I got this. I'm
actually out of the ground.
I'm a professional. I've been burning for more than 10,000 hours. So just I'll take it from here.
You're doing it all wrong.
I'll take it from here, guys. Thank you. There's this interesting study showing how long-term weed use may be a one-way ticket to socioeconomic problems. Now, this might be right up your alley, Dan. Didn't you also possess a PhD in weedology? Psychopharmaweedology, I believe.
Yeah, no, I have a degree in addiction studies.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yes, I do possess one of those. And I believe I went to weed college for a couple of years up in a shed back behind my house.
I hold classes twice daily if you want to go.
That's right. Tutorial. Now it's tutorial. It was a struggle there for a while.
Dan, you can get addicted to like nude females and stuff like that, right? Motorcycles. You can get addicted to that, right?
Anything that can put a smile on your face is in.
Oh boy.
Water. I mean, yeah, pretty much anything.
I think I'm in trouble. I'm in big trouble.
So these guys, they were studying these kids that were born in New Zealand from birth in 72 to 73, all the way up through age 38, and assessing their changes in health over their lifetime. And they made this shocking discovery, right? Heavy and persistent cannabis use had negative repercussions on people socially and financially. Huh.
Could the black market have anything to do with that? Probably.
Well, they say, even after accounting for a number of factors which could have swayed the results, like childhood socioeconomic problems, lower IQ, antisocial behavior, depression, and a host of other factors, they kept coming back to these results. They said that the team found regular cannabis users experience downward social mobility and more financial problems, such as troubles with debt and cash flow, than those who did not report such persistent use.
If you go to jail and you lose your job, then you
Weed's
can't pay your
expensive.
bills. We're jailing kids for a couple grams in the inner city. So
As an internet show, do we have any listeners in New Zealand? Like, how much does weed cost in New Zealand? Because maybe it's just really expensive there, and they're like, well, yeah, I have a hard time with my cash flow because I smoke so much weed.
might be true.
Doesn't mean I have a shitty life. It just means that, weed's expensive.
$600 an ounce, yeah.
They say
See what that sample size was again?
Let's see. They said a bunch? No, it doesn't say.
Okay. I mean, there's a lot of questions there, like age of first use, what do they consider regular use? Do they use any other drugs?
A group. How many children are in a group?
Well, I mean, a group, this needs to be tens of thousands to be an accurate representation of anything.
They probably got 17. That's a lot of these studies,
Yeah, I guess, that the methodology that's performed in these are just mind-boggling half the time.
Yeah.
I found it interesting that they said that these people had more antisocial behaviors at work, such as stealing money or lying to get a job. Like, do you smoke weed? No. Do you drug test? Like, I don't know.
Under that alone.
And check this out. They also experience more relationship problems, such as intimate partner violence and controlling abuse.
Wait, that's booze. Violence comes from booze. Weed makes you say, okay, let's talk about this.
It also comes from extended cannabis use in New Zealand in the 70s, if you started in the 70s.
Those crazy socialists.
Does this
how many
blow?
of them were co-occurring? What else did these folks have? You're going to have to send me the link to this study, because now this is going to irritate the hell out of me until I know how to do it.
It's interesting though how you can pick bits like that and be like, oh look, all these potheads beat their wives. Well, they were also drunks, but they also smoked pot, so it could go either way.
An extraordinarily large percent, regular users. I think they could translate that into addicts pretty quick. And of that number, an extremely high amount have co-occurring something. They have something else going on.
Yeah.
And it just seems to me that, especially in Australia.
Like, do you have antisocial behaviors and do you intimately beat your wives? I mean, it definitely doesn't
Where do you
sound
find
like.
the motivation if you're stoned all the time?
Maybe she smoked your last bowl. I don't know.
Well, then that's a different story. I'm sorry. I'm not saying you should have hurt anybody.
We're not advocating this, but if you take my last bowl, we're gonna have. Yeah. Well, and they go on to say, like, that's kind of the problem with it being Schedule 1 is that we can't have very good studies, and the studies that do come out are like, here, you can study how this is bad for you, but not anything else. So,
That sounds objective. Well,
yeah, right?
No bias.
Objective and unbiased.
No bias. Science. She blinded me with science.
Oh, well. So that's that.
I mean, if you look at all the other drug studies out there, they're all double-blind, placebo-type studies, and none of that's allowed to do. So the agendas that are set forth, and the majority of the stuff that out there are so prevalent that it's almost difficult to read some of the studies that are out there because you just pick them apart. Like I was saying, there's so much information that's missing to draw these accurate conclusions or these inaccurate conclusions.
That's right. Well, my bowl's empty. I'm going to go beat my girlfriend and probably my baby, so... well, Dan, awesome to have you. We should definitely do this more often and maybe talk about, growing in general. Maybe stuff
I do like
that.
doing that. I enjoy doing that quite a bit.
I know. I bet you probably don't get to do that very much anymore with your new day job. No one gives a shit about growing it. They just want to know how much it is.
Now, God, all these people are beating me up over price now that the markets are shifting.
Yeah. You're the one that's got to find a happy medium now to where we can all get paid.
Yeah, you know, that's really kind of it. I mean, at a certain point, I may jump on board and just kind of head out of Monster Grow, but I've got to be able to figure out a way to do it to the kind of the meticulous. I mean, it takes a lot to do it well, and
Oh, definitely.
it'll take even more to do it even on a huge scale. And so,
Right.
And we see that over and over again with these tier 3s producing bugs and whatnot. Like, once you get them in a place that big, like, you can't really control it. It's nature at that point, man. You just let it do its thing and hope you can extract it.
well, that's just, I think, so happy for extractions. I mean, it's allowed for so much subpar bug to turn into something, at least, especially on the distillate level.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's cool, man. Yeah, we're gonna try and start doing these more regularly, and we'll have you back.
Awesome, man. I really, really look forward to it. Dewey, it was very, very nice meeting you, man.
Hey, man, it was nice talking to you, and I know it's a very disruptive market, so to speak. You know, things are up and down and all over the place. It's a very uncertain future, so I certainly wish you good luck going forward.
Well, thank you guys very, very much. You guys have a great rest of your night.
Yeah, later, Dan.
Hey, man.
Hey, so I do also want to mention I got a copy of the Cannabis Journal, which has 2 articles that I wrote. So and this is the first time I've ever been published in print. So I thought that was kind of cool. It's a little.
Oh, dude, congratulations! That's the first time in print. Is like, you know, you popped your cherry. That's great.
Yeah, they say you always remember your first. So and
I do. It's a horrific memory, but yeah, I do.
Yeah, I mean, I did some comparing, and compared to what people get paid to write on the web, like, I'm doing pretty good. So
I mean, well, yeah,
like, I've never seen my name in like a magazine like that. So it's kind of cool. But the Cannabis Journal, if you're in Washington, you can check it out. I wrote a primer on terpenes and then some I-502 data article. So
I'll have to check that out to learn what's going on.
Yeah, I posted a picture of it on my Instagram.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I like your Instagram. I follow it. I get to see all these dab rigs that I've never used, and you know, I'm gonna have to drive to your place.
Yep, babies and dab rigs. If you like either of those things, follow me on Instagram. I'm at the gym.
That's right, and no diapers because he doesn't do diapers. I don't know how the hell you work this out. Can you explain this, please? I'm just so curious.
Perhaps another time, but yeah.
You are very good at that deflection thing. My hat off to you.
Good. All right, hotboxpodcast.com. Thank you guys. I got some exciting stuff coming up. So make sure to tune in. I'll catch you next week.